Hi YouTube friends and family, thank you so much for tuning into my channel, Tell Me Now TV, where we're not messy, but we will get into some mess. Today I'm bringing you 3 quick stories. None of them are really messy, just things that have transpired over this past week. First, let's start with Alex Trebek. Now, as you all remember, back on March 6th, Alex Trebek made a statement that he had been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And I remember when I heard that, I was like, oh boy, this is not good news, because people really don't survive from that type of cancer. The survival rate is actually only 3% after 5 years. And the reason for that is that pancreatic cancer is very hard to detect. And by the time they do detect it, it's been metastasized or spread to other parts of the body. So it really wasn't good news. However, this past week, Alex announced that his tumors have shrunk more than 50%. His doctors are saying that he's near remission. And he said that his doctor said that they haven't seen this kind of positive result in their memory. So he still needs to go through some chemo treatments, but the news is all good. So that's just amazing. And if you all remember, Patrick Swayze died of pancreatic cancer, and it has been rumored that Aretha Franklin died of pancreatic cancer as well. Not so sure I believe that, but that's what's being said. So anyway, good news for Alex Trebek. I wish him well. Now let's move on to the next story. Frank Lucas passed away this past Thursday, which was May 30th, 2019. He was 88 years old. And if the name Frank Lucas sounds familiar, if you'll recall, Denzel Washington did a movie called American Gangster, which was loosely based off of the life of Frank Lucas. So Frank Lucas was a drug kingpin that ran Harlem in the 60s and 70s. And it's been told that when he started his drug empire, he decided that he was going to cut out the middleman with purchasing the heroin. And the middleman was the mafia. So what Frank did is he went straight to Thailand to get the heroin and set up his operation. And the way he smuggled the drugs back into the United States was in the coffins of killed Vietnam soldiers, U.S. Vietnam soldiers. So in order to pull that off, he had to heavily bribe Thai officials and U.S. military officials and enlisted U.S. soldiers. Now, Frank claimed that his drug operation brought in over $1 million a day. And at the time that he was busted, he had $52 million hidden in the Cayman Islands, and he did not have enough room to store all of the physical cash that he had. So he would take the money to banks. The banks would count it and exchange it for larger denomination bills. And when all of this went down, bank executives pled guilty to 200 misdemeanor violations of the Bank Secrecy Act for doing this for Frank. So he got busted in 1975 and went to trial. And during his trial, the prosecutor said that Frank Lucas killed more black people than the KKK did with him selling his blue magic heroin. He was sentenced to 70 years in jail. After about a year in jail, he turned informant. And then he got released in 1981 for being an informant. He busted out 30 of his family members. He busted out mafia members. And back in the 70s, the New York Police Department was notorious for being corrupt. So he busted out a whole bunch of New York police officers, New York cops. Now the legacy that Frank Lucas left, he destroyed Harlem. His nephew, Aldwin Lassiter, is quoted as saying, "I believe that he was very remorseful for the degradation of our community, and him cooperating with the state, he did to help get a lot of people off the street. He just felt bad for it. Me being around him, I sense his remorse for him. He realized that wasn't the life that he really, really wanted." Frank Lucas leaves 6 children. He had a 7th child that died in 2017, and his wife died in 2016. Now, I grew up in New York, but I didn't live in Harlem. I lived on Staten Island. And I can remember just how bad it was in Harlem. Even going back to visit New York as a teenager in the 80s, the destruction that Frank Lucas and his heroin ring left was just incredible. So I truly hope that he made peace with his maker before he passed away. But Frank Lucas is dead at the age of 88. The last story I have is about Leah Chase. Leah Chase passed away June 1st, 2019. She was 96 years old. Now, Leah Chase was known as the Queen of Creole Cuisine. And if you live in New Orleans, or if you've ever visited New Orleans, you're probably very familiar with Miss Leah. She was the co-owner of Dookie Chase's restaurant. Now, let me give you a little bit of background about Miss Leah. So she had been cooking for 70 years. She married her husband, Edgar Dookie Chase Jr., in 1946. He was a jazz musician. They took over his father's sandwich shop. It was just like a little corner sandwich shop where you can get a bite to eat, buy your lottery tickets. And it was in Trebek, which is a section of New Orleans. Well, Leah transformed that little sandwich shop into a sit-down restaurant with white tablecloths, nice silverware, the whole 9 yards. And she said she wanted the Black community to have fine dining like you would find in the French Quarter. Now, in 2005, when Hurricane Katrina hit, Dookie Chase's was flooded with 5 feet of water. And Miss Leah and her husband had to evacuate to Birmingham. When they came back to New Orleans, they lived in a FEMA trailer next to their restaurant, and the two of them rebuilt Dookie Chase's. Now, Mr. Chase died in 2016. The impact that Leah Chase had, let me just go over some of the accolades that she received. She received the James Beard Award, and that is GOAT status in the cuisine community. She's won an NAACP award. She's gotten accolades from the Foodways Alliance. And the Southern Food and Beverage Museum has a permanent gallery named after her. And also, she inspired the Disney character Princess Tiana from The Princess and the Frog movie. Now, in addition to just cooking, she was extremely active in the civil rights movement. In the 60s, she fed freedom riders. Going against federal law, she would seat Black and white patrons together in her restaurant. Dookie Chase's was the meeting place for Black voter registration, NAACP meetings, and political gatherings. And through all of that, the police never messed with her or the restaurant. People were able to gather there for their meetings in peace with no trouble ever. Some of the famous people that she's fed at Dookie Chase's: Quincy Jones, Jesse Jackson, Duke Ellington, Thurgood Marshall, Ray Charles, Martin Luther King Jr., George Bush, Barack Obama, and she also fed my granddaughter. I took my granddaughter to Dookie Chase's when she was just 18 months old. And that's where she had her first taste of gumbo. Miss Leah's gumbo was the first gumbo she ever tasted. And at 18 months, she didn't have her full vocabulary, but she sure let us know how much she liked that gumbo. It was all kinds of and good and all of that. So yeah, Dookie Chase's is some place that I would always visit when I went to New Orleans. Now, New Orleans is known for doing their second line, and I can only imagine what Leah Chase's second line is going to be like. I really wish I could be down there for that, but I will definitely be looking online for videos of Leah Chase's second line. Now, Leah Chase has left a great legacy for all Creoles, all people of New Orleans, and all people of Louisiana. She's going to be greatly missed. Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to my channel so you'll know when new videos have been uploaded, and leave a comment. Let me know if you are familiar with Leah Chase and Dookie Chase's down in New Orleans. What are your thoughts on Alex Trebek almost being in remission from stage 4 pancreatic cancer? And what are your thoughts about the legacy that Frank Lucas left? I would love to hear what you have to say. And until next time, take care. Bye.